You are listening to KCFV Ferguson 89.5 The Wave, and I am your host, JazzHandss. Normally we have an intro for this show, but because of the big drama, this is Dead Air, by the way. You are listening to Dead Air, a show that talks about last Sunday's epic Walking Dead episode, and we are kind of going in cold turkey today because last Sunday was a very, very, very emotional episodes. And of course I am joined with the one, the only.
What up? It's your boy Kaji.
What's up? It's your girl Lady Lavender.
Miss Lady Lavender and Mr. DJ Kaji. And we are going to be talking about last Sunday's Walking Dead episode. So one of the things that I want to talk about first, because we almost have to. I mean, we have to. It was such a major part of the episode. The episode is titled Thank You, which I think is kind of appropriate. So, Glenn, our loved Glenn, might have bit the dust.
Not yet.
I refuse it.
Not just yet.
You guys don't think so?
Not yet. He ain't down yet. He's down, but he ain't out.
Nope.
Alrighty, so let's kind of just dive right in right now and talk about Glenn, because Glenn's character, and we don't know what happened, and I think this for a series might be extremely this might be worse than an actual death, because with the death, okay, we know, we're sad, we can kind of move on from it because it's a death. With this, we don't know what happened. We don't know what happened. So I think for me as a fan, this is kind of worse than not knowing if they're alive or dead, or if they actually did kill them off. Not knowing if they're alive or dead is kind of it's like this anxiety moment.
But thing before Nick shot himself, he lay on top of him, so he might get a chance to cover himself.
See, and I thought that too. I thought, because Nick shot himself, he said thank you, and he shot himself, and Glenn kind of caught him.
Yeah.
And it looked like when the zombies started, or when the walkers, pardon me, because they're not zombies, started entering into his chest, it looked like his chest was higher.
Yeah, it looked like it, but nope.
Than normal.
No.
But,
No.
I mean, even if they are tearing through Nicholas and they're going to go get to him, how can he get out of there? Because I've watched the scene a couple times to see. I mean, you could say that he might crawl underneath the walkers.
It's mostly to me and Paul was talking about this earlier. There's two scenarios. He could cover his blood as being, trying to be a zombie, or two, he try to escape and throwing by the dumpster, trying to play safe zone. Mm-hmm. So at least he can protect himself in harm's way. Yeah. So I mean, it's really hard to kind of say what might happen, because it looks hopeless. Another thing is he might get saved by a third party that we don't know about yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's kind of for later. Let's talk about Glenn, because if Glenn is gone, I mean, he was one of my favorite characters, and I kind of knew something bad was going to happen to him.
Yeah.
Well, they played a little bit. They played a little, a little bit, saying something's going to happen to Glenn.
Yeah.
It was either going to be Glenn or Michonne, since they just kept hyping those two up throughout the whole episode.
Yeah, but I kind of figured it was going to be Glenn more just when he radioed Rick and started talking and went, "Be careful, dumbass." One of the first words he said to Rick.
Oh, yeah.
So I figured that's when I thought we were definitely gonna lose him, and we lost him in a much more sadder way. I mean, Glenn, for me, is personally one of my favorite characters. He has no kills. He hasn't killed a single human. He's killed walkers. He hasn't killed a single human, and I think that says a lot, and that's noble. And now a lot of people were actually also talking about, because I've read up online, and everybody's kind of torn. They're like, oh, he's alive or he's dead. It's like, stop pretending yourself that he's alive, and stop, it's like, come on, he's totally alive. But there's kind of like this torn, because a lot of people say, well, he shouldn't, if Glenn killed Nick, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I mean, what you guys kind of also elaborate a little bit on that.
Okay, before that, I know Nick was trying to lead the way, even though they got himself in the trap. Most of the other side was a walker, and another walker was in their way. Yeah. But one thing is, why would you go into a dumpster, even though you had like a stairs right up there? You could just control the whole environment, but. That's just me.
I don't know. The door was locked. That one I kind of just chalk up to, well, it's TV drama. They have to kind of have the TV drama, because theoretically, if you couldn't do that, instead of firing your guns, they could have pushed the trash can over to the gate a little bit more, and actually jump on the trash can and then just jump over the fence.
But if they did jump over the fence, the other walkers on the other fence.
No. The third part.
The third part?
Because there was the fence, and then there was where the walkers were down by there. Because there was the building, and then the fence, and then at the end was the chain link to the fence separating it, and then the walkers were on one side, and the walkers coming down this side. But that whole other side was open.
Oh. Okay.
So that could have been a way out. So I kind of just chalked that up to TV drama, and I mean it worked.
Yeah.
It worked. I thought it worked.
Yes, it did.
I thought it worked. But, I mean, a lot of people were kind of talking that, like, it's stupid that they kind of did this because it makes Glenn look like... I've read somewhere, and this actually ticked me off quite a lot. They said that they feel that Glenn was being stupid by letting Nick live, and that because if he actually died, it makes him an idiot for allowing Nick to live.
Yeah.
And... I'm sorry. This is a common theme that I've noticed within The Walking Dead, and where I think definitely because I read a little bit of the comics book, but definitely now it would be easier to kill people that mess with you. It would be really, really easier just to kind of like go prison Rick and kill that one guy at the prison who was causing all that trouble.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
It would be easier. So for him not to do that, it definitely shows a lot more strength instead of giving into your animalistic side, which clearly last season was them kind of becoming like they feel more animals. They kind of miss the hunt and stuff like that, and they need to kill these walkers and everything like that. But I mean, another thing is too, and it seems like allowing people to live might come back to bite you in the butt.
Yeah,
which is true. It happened with the governor. It happened with the wolves, and now it's kind of happening with. It seems like Glenn, but on a different kind of scale. And this is my whole point. This is my whole view: is granting somebody life and allowing them to live isn't. It's not a sign of weakness, or it's not like stupid. You granted somebody life. You allow them to live. What they do with that life, it's up to them. If they come back and they die, that's on them. If they come back and kill you, that's still on them. You were the bigger person and allowed them to live.
That's one thing.
Absolutely.
Now, one thing is, before Nick shot himself, you think Nick, before he shot himself, was like breaking down after
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no... He was going through what Rick was kind of going through in the prison. Remember when all of a sudden stuff would kind of get quiet and he'd have that kind of like weird ringing in his ear and that tunnel vision? That's what Nick was going through. He was going through that depression and how his fear was finally kind of starting to catch up to him. And I think that's definitely what happened with Rick too. He started becoming more and more afraid now more than ever, especially at the prison because he wasn't allowing himself to. And Nick was kind of really feeling afraid of what this world truly is and what it means to not be a coward. Yeah. It was kind of, it was almost, you could almost see it going up against his normal nature.
Yeah.
And where he just wanted to run, he wanted to ditch the people, and he contemplated, and even when he killed his one old friend who who they kind of ran into as a walker. And Glenn, and this is what I also love about Glenn. Glenn will give you a second chance. He gives you a second chance, and he always tries to push you forward in a positive way.
Yeah.
He did it with Tara. He wouldn't give up on Tara, and I mean Tara's one of my favorite characters. I absolutely love Tara.
She's mine too.
I absolutely love Tara. She's so amazing, and we wouldn't have gotten that, and now. I think this also shows that if Glenn is alive, that sometimes you can't save people. Yeah. Sometimes if they really they can try to change, but they can't. And I think that's what Nicholas really felt is that he was trying to change. He was really trying to change. And did you guys notice, too, whenever Nicholas was in that state of shock
Oh, yeah.
and the ear thing,
Yes.
that Glenn was always the one to pull him out of it.
Yep. Yes.
Glenn snapped him out of it like that. Like, so I think he trusted Glenn and he didn't want to let Glenn down. And that was one of the bigger things throughout the episode. And then when there was no way out, he just, I don't think he could take it. He couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah. Especially when you like trapping this, you're on a thing, you're trapped between Walker's trying to grab your arm, and I can understand that.
Yeah, it's like, what are you supposed to do at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's where, I think because Glenn's always kind of been a beacon for hope, I feel. Glenn's always kind of been the one to kind of push the group a little bit further. And realistically, too, I feel Michonne's kind of starting to get like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's starting to kind of become a bigger beacon of hope. But Glenn's always kind of been like, there's always a way out. There should always kind of be a way out. If we work hard enough, we can kind of get out of this. Yeah. And I feel that what they really needed was two clear-minded people to kind of work together. And when Nicholas started kind of going into that state, they lost it, and that's kind of inevitably what kind of happened. If Nick was in a sane mind and they were working together, I feel that they could have probably found a way out of that situation even when they were on top,
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was so much more about this episode, about Glenn. I mean, so much. Like,
so much.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Whew. Not the drama. Especially when Rick said, they ain't going to make it. Just leave them we tried. Just leave them behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that I want to kind of get into later about the group dynamic. Because, and that kind of comes around with, Heath, is that his name?
Yep. Heath, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Heath.
Yeah. Heath, that kind of definitely comes around more with Heath a little bit later.
Yeah.
And you really do see his whole character development. There was a lot of character development within this, but we definitely need to keep kind of just talking a little bit more about Glenn, because there was so much about Glenn that, as a person you can gravitate to. Like, I gravitated towards Glenn.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Glenn, and if he is gone, it's extremely, extremely sad.
Yeah.
He was by far my favorite character. He was sort of the right moral compass in a sense. Whereas you had Herschel and you had Tyrese, that they were the moral compass, yes. But Glenn was kind of that alpha moral compass in a sense, where he took what they taught him and still applied it to kind of Rick's method of life.
Yeah.
To live. And granted, he never really killed anybody, but I don't really think he was ever in a situation to where he had to, except with Nick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we have that, and with that, like, Glenn never really killing anybody. Glenn's become like, he'll do the dirty work if he needs to. I don't think he will kill. Unlike Morgan or Carol, where I've talked a little bit back and forth with Paul about, like, well, Morgan can kill if he wants to, and blah blah blah, or if he needs to and stuff.
Man, Morgan to me, but it looked like he's trying to change. To me, Morgan's not trying to be the killer. He's trying to be more passive.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole thing, and I think with those two characters, Morgan kind of learned that he needs to kill. Glenn hasn't killed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's given people second chances, but I feel that he's given people second chances who I think he feels deserve second chances, because within the episode, if you notice when they were at the feed store, not the feed store, the pet store.
The pet store.
When they were at the pet store, there was a really kind of big moment with Glenn and Nick, where they were talking, and Glenn was kind of talking about his plan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He was talking about his plan and how he was going to set this thing on fire. Nick volunteered to come.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nick's like, "Hey, I'll come with you. Let me do this." And at first, Glenn just kind of stared at him.
I'm like, what?
Yeah. Glenn just kind of stared at him, and then I think this was one of the things too where Glenn really felt that Nicholas was changing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And why Glenn gave him the second chance that Nick deserved, because Nick said, "Let me come with you." Glenn felt very uncomfortable with that because I feel he still is very wary of Nick, and that's understandable. He's very, very wary of Nick. However, when Nick kind of backed off and said, "I could draw a map. I can draw a map to where it is, and I'll let you go." For me, at least, I get kind of two vibes from Glenn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he says, when Nick says, "Let me draw you a map," Glenn's kind of like, no, you're going to come with me, you're going to lead me there at first. And I'm wondering if there's two options for this. If it's, okay, Nick backed off and said, "Let me draw you a map," because it's clear you're still uncomfortable with me being here. That kind of shows growth, so I'm going to actually take him with me. He'll be a part of this. I feel it could be that, or I could feel it be that Glenn still might not have trusted Nick at that time fully yet, and so he was very actually wary and apprehensive about leaving him with the rest of the group, just in case he slipped back into his old ways and kind of screwed over the old group.
Mm-hmm.
Or, Michonne, Heath, I think it was Annie?
Annie.
And the other two.
David.
Yeah, I think he was worried that might happen again. So, what do you guys think? Do you think that it was like that, where he was worried that Nick was going to screw those guys over, so that's why he take him? Or do you think Glenn actually did wanted to trust Nick, and so he gave him a shot to go with him to try to set the barn on fire, or the feed store?
Glenn always wants to trust somebody and make sure that they have come up and grown. Even though, Nick tried to kill him, twice? He still wants to believe that he's going to be a good guy now, and that he's really going to step up and do his part just like everyone else.
Right.
But I do think he wanted to trust him in that moment, and see where he wanted to go with it.
Yeah.
And it's you're not going to leave me high and dry, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can understand that. What do you think about that, Kaji?
Me, I think he gave him a shot. I think it was a shot. You're trying to see if he got growth about the plot and everything, about the plan. But to me, he did go up a little bit, try to, take lead and everything like that. So I think, to me, when Nick did go up a little bit, trying to change his ways, not trying to go back to his old way, to what he used to do.
Yeah, and I think it definitely kind of says a lot when Glenn says, "You're not that guy anymore." Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, too, if the whole story or the whole inner ear thing, when you see kind of Nick start kind of really freaking out, I'm wondering if that's by kind of constantly saying, "You're not that guy anymore, you're not that guy anymore, you're not that guy anymore," that's also trying to push him forward a little bit more into not being that guy anymore, actually, instead of running and hiding, because he wasn't running and hiding. It seemed like he was definitely taking responsibility, and I feel that with the if this didn't happen and Nick really did kind of come full circle, he would have been a really fun character. Mm-hmm. If this sort of events didn't happen led to possibly both their deaths,
Yeah.
So, and then there was one other thing that we need to talk about, because this is going to be a heavy Glenn episode. This is very, very heavy Glenn episode. I loved Glenn. I absolutely loved Glenn. What did you guys think when they were all at the pet shop, and before he actually went on the mission, Glenn said something about, "Well, I have to get home. Mm-hmm. I have a wife. I have to get home."
Oh, okay.
Do you think that was just, "I have to get home because I really want to see Maggie," or do you think it could mean that possibly we were right and Maggie might be pregnant?
That's a hard one right there.
Hard one right there. That's when that's Malone saying no. That's Malone. I think the black girl saying no. That's why I have to go. You have a reason to go back home to Maggie.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why Michonne said that, but I also think that there was a little bit more desperateness to, "Oh, I need to get home, I need to get home, I need to get home." Now, I don't know, was I wrong, or was there was it because he could have been worried about even though he didn't know that there was a wolf attack, could he still have been worried about that? So maybe I'm misreading it, and it's not that Maggie's pregnant, even though we all want her to be pregnant.
Well, David was saying the same thing, that he wanted to get back home to his wife. So in that moment, I think he was like kind of making it about himself. And Glenn was just trying to say, you're going to get back to her too, but we all need to work together to get back to her because I have a wife at home too. Yeah. So we're both going to get out of here. It's not just going to be you. We're all going to get out of here together.
Yeah, and I think because Glenn and especially Michonne, even though Rick told them if stuff gets bad, leave. Mm-hmm. There were still, these people aren't ready. They're doing their best and they're good, but we can't leave them yet. And granted, it could have been Rick, like a misunderstanding from Rick, saying that, but it's still it was very much they didn't want to give up on that group, and Glenn especially, and then especially to Michonne. What were your guys' thoughts on like Glenn in the moment? And I mean, how do you think he might try to get out of this? And I mean, what were some of your favorite moments if Glenn's dead? Because I'm gonna say what I think's gonna happen here a little bit later, but I want to hear your guys' kind of opinion first, or your at least thoughts on Glenn.
Yeah, it's like when you love a major main character like that, you never think that everybody else is dying off. But you never think that anything is going to happen to them. Like, you already know nothing's going to happen to Rick. Nothing's going to happen to Daryl. Nothing's going to happen to him. So, of course, you don't think that something's going to happen to Glenn. So that's why when he grabbed Nick and fell down, I wasn't tripping on it. I wasn't worried about it. It's like, you know what? Glenn's about to get up and he's fast. Yeah. And it's like they've been running throughout this whole episode as fast as can be. So it's like Glenn's going to roll over, crawl somewhere, jump up over these walkers, and it's like it's all going to be good. But when he just stayed there on the ground, it's like, wait a minute, what just happened? What? Wait a minute. It was like that moment of complete disbelief. That's why I'm still refusing it.
Yeah. That's kind of what I felt with it too. I'm there with you.
Yes.
It didn't feel like he actually died. You're kind of like, whoa, what happened? What? No, nuh-uh.
No, it's like they just playing with us right here. No, they're just playing with us. It's like, no.
Yeah, and that's where, because I'm in the mindset where I think he's alive. I don't think he's dead, but I don't want to also be caught off guard and say that he's not dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to be realistic. But there's the optimist in me is definitely saying, oh, he's alive. He's going to get out of it because he is Glenn. Yeah. But then the realism in me is he could very well be dead, and we need to accept that, and we need to, I think it's definitely going to be horrible because, I mean, Glenn's had death scares. I really thought he was going to die last season from Nick, and I thought it was going to be...
Me too, actually.
I thought it was going to be horrible because I thought when Rick was killing those walkers that got into Alexandria, I thought he was going to be one of the walkers. And I really hope that doesn't happen again where they find a bunch of walkers and you see Glenn. I think that would just crush everybody. I feel that would really crush and cripple everybody. I would be devastated because if he's dead and got eaten, that sucks and that's fine. But I don't want to have to see Rick or Maggie, put him down. And speaking of Maggie, I mean, if Glenn is gone, how do you think she's going to handle it? Because she has lost within the last...
She has lost everybody.
Last 3 seasons, she lost Herschel. Season 4, mid-season finale. Season 5, she lost Beth. Now she might have lost Glenn. I mean, how do you think she's going to hold up? I mean, clearly, she can't lose anymore.
Yeah, I don't think she's going to take it too well.
No, she's going to break down. She's going to break down on that one.
Yeah, I think she's definitely going to maybe get depressed. And, I mean, we'll see. Because I absolutely love Maggie. I love Maggie to death. She's such an awesome and fun character. And I want the group to be happy. And that, because you were right, like, about how we kind of run into these characters every week. And excuse me. And I've said this about the past, where The Walking Dead does an extremely well job of kind of integrating you into the group to where you feel like you're a part of the group. You feel like you're there. When they lose somebody, you feel that loss. When they have a victory, you have a victory with them. You know, you feel very, very attached to these characters, and even when new characters come in, you question them. You're like, I don't know if I like that guy. I don't know if I like that guy. But then as soon as they do something you like, you accept them as quickly as the characters accept them within the group, and they become family. Like Noah. I could not care for Noah when I first met him. I did not like him. I did not care. He messed with Carol and Daryl, tried to get those two killed. Did not like him at all. But at the end, when they were in Alexandria, when Glenn lost him in his run, I felt very, very sorry because we lost a character.
That was horrible.
That we slowly kind of started to like. But with this is more significant because if Glenn is dead, that means that there's only a couple more of the original survivors left. And by original survivors, I mean Rick, Carl, Carol, Daryl, and then Glenn, I think, was the only other original from season 1 that we were introduced to. I believe. Yeah, I don't think I'm missing anybody. But with Glenn gone, they're slow. The originals are slowly starting to go away. If he is gone, I hope he's not. So, what do you guys think? Kind of prediction if he is alive and if he's going to get out of this? Because next week, I don't think we're going to get into it. Next week, I don't think we're going to get into how he got out or we're going to know if he's alive or dead next week, because it seems like next week's going to be a very, very heavy Morgan episode.
Yep.
And so I think we're going to get the backstory of how he kind of became clear. Now, one thing that me and Paul were talking about, and I want to hear your guys' opinion. There's a character in the comics, I believe, called Ezekiel. Let me check
Ezekiel, yeah.
Let me check this up real quick just to verify, because...
Yeah, Ezekiel. That was me and Paul talking about that. Ezekiel, I think that was one of Morgan's trainer that helped him to get cleared, or...
Yeah, I think you might be right, and the internet's freezing up. But yes, okay, so Ezekiel. Ezekiel is like a changed kind of man. He's very much... I've heard, because I haven't read the comics very much, but I've heard that he's very much a badass.
Okay.
With a
with a tiger, right?
trained pet tiger.
Yeah.
So I think if they do it right, we could be introduced to Ezekiel in this next episode, and Morgan, and we find kind of like the backstory with Morgan and how he's being trained, and because in any of the flashbacks, it seems like he's wearing his kind of the old kind of tattered clothes that he was wearing when he first met Rick in Clear. So, but I think, and Paul and I were talking, that I think Ezekiel's going to come. He's going to be introduced. We're going to see him train. He's either going to be introduced in the beginning or middle of the episode, so we're going to see Morgan's full training, or we're going to get the 90 minutes of part 1 of Morgan's training. Then we're going to get another episode where it's him actually dealing with Ezekiel in the second part of the episode, and then the third episode from that episode. So I guess that's episode, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Episode 6, which that's not the mid-season finale, is it already?
I'll say halfway, maybe halfway.
Something like that, but within that episode, we're then going to kind of be realized that Glenn was saved by Ezekiel. That Glenn was saved by Ezekiel, and that he's going to be bringing a storm. Because with this season especially, I've noticed that they haven't slowed down, and they normally don't do that. Like the first maybe episode or two, they boom hit, and it's crazy and it's hectic, and then they slow down for a little while, and we have those kind of episodes where it's like, okay, well, we're talking, we're setting up, and then boom, payoff. But with this, it's been run, go, move faster. We got to keep going. We got to keep doing this. We got to get the horde out of here. We got to get the wolves attack. I mean, there hasn't been too much of a breath. So I think with this new episode, we're going to be able to take a breath a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Get away from everything. The only bad side is we're not going to know if my good old buddy Glenn's
But the one thing
Dead
is,
or alive.
like, me and Paul still thinking, even though they might, well, since Nick shut himself up, might cover his blood, you know, trying to act like a walker and maybe slid out, or be like Mike's to the dumpster, try to slid under the dumpster, be a safe zone, mostly keep him, you know, safe away from the walker.
Maybe, you know, and it's really because that could work, but the one other problem that I have with that is, okay, so let's say Nick is on top of Glenn and they're eating Nick. As soon as they eat through Nick, they're just going to keep going through Glenn.
Yeah.
They're going to get to the back of Nick, push down more, find Glenn, and then just start tearing more and just keep eating and eating and eating, even if he is kind of covered. You know, I think that could be the only thing that saves him is the smell.
Yeah.
But you got to also think, too, Nick is freshly dead. He shot himself and is freshly dead. So could that still have a thing to play? I mean, how long does it have to be before the walkers lose interest in you as food? You know,
but I also heard Paul told me he still got a flare gun, so he can use the flare gun as a distraction too, as you might.
Flare gun, maybe, but I mean, because I looked at it and that whole hallway is just filled. The whole hallway, like the whole alleyway is just filled
with walker,
filled with nothing but walkers, and I mean, it looks hopeless. It really does kind of look very, very hopeless. Yeah. You know.
Speaking of it, let's get Paul's opinion about this.
Let's get Paul's opinion on it.
He finally made it back.
Right now. Yes, he finally made it back. Let me turn on his mic.
Trying to think, am I getting any sound out of these?
Well, we can hear you.
We can hear you just fine.
Okay. Well, I'll figure something out. Yeah. Oh, hey, there I am.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Glenn's not dead.
Okay, yes.
Sorry, I'm a little late to the game. I apologize. But did I miss anything? Glenn's not dead?
Well, I mean, we kind of talked about the.
Nope, he's not.
we kind of talked about like everything that we kind of thought about Glenn, about the moment, about Nick, about like everything. We kind of covered.
And I mean, I just covered about how Glenn can mostly blend in with the blood and try to step away, maybe. And also got a flare gun. Maybe can use that as a distraction.
Yeah, we're at the part where we're thinking, how is he going to get out of this?
Okay, the only bad thing with Glenn being covered in Nick's blood is that's not Walker. That's not rot. That's not disease. Yeah. So it may or may not
entice them more.
I was going to say it may or may not disguise him. It may actually go, oh, wait a minute. Hey, Course 2 is getting away over here. We need to go grab him. I think the only... God, man, I just walk in and I start motor mouthing. I think the only way Glenn's getting out of this is if, number one, he has to get out from under Nick and behind the dumpster or somewhere where he can limit how many walkers are coming at him at a time. He's always shown that if he can limit the threat, he can survive. He can kill his way out of it. He can stab them all in the head one at a time as they come out. And that was something that they alluded to in the first episode of the season when they were trying to clear the walkers inside that farm machinery place when he was with Nicholas and Heath.
Yeah.
When he's like, okay, you work the door, let one or two out at a time. We can handle those. The other thing he can do, Kaji, you mentioned it, he has the flare gun.
Yeah.
If he can draw some of them off following a flare, he can handle what's left, or at least maybe get to, I don't know if you noticed it, but when they were running down the alley, and this I'm not generally one of those who screams at the TV. I screamed at the TV. I'm like, why are you on top of the dumpster? There's stairs right there.
I watched the scene over.
We talked about that.
I couldn't find the stairs. Where were the stairs?
The stairs are right there, like when they came
As they were coming down the alley,
alley.
There's the stairs on one of the buildings. They're elevated a little bit, but they're like fire escape stairs going up. And it's like, why did you run to the dumpster? The stairs. I mean, you jump up there and then but you're then they can't get you. Come on, man. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
To me, I don't think Glenn would do that. Like, Glenn, you're so smart. You know it's there, it's right there. You're smarter than that.
That's why I say
screaming, man.
that's why I say that's just TV drama. That's the TV drama right there.
But I think if Glenn can shoot a flare off, draw enough of them away following the flare to make it over to those stairs, because Nicholas probably did not, because Glenn looked at Nicholas and said, you know where you go. You've been here before. Lead.
Yeah.
Glenn would have gone for the stairs. Glenn let Nicholas take point. Nicholas led them to the dumpster, hoping to jump over the fence, and there's walkers on the other side. I think Glenn knows the stairs are there. If he can get enough away that he can kill the walkers to get himself clear, I think he'll make the stairs.
Yeah.
And I think he'll survive.
Yeah.
The other thing, and I'm going massive comic spoiler, and we've all talked about this individually.
We were just talking about it before you walked in.
Ezekiel, I think, is the guy who showed Morgan how to be Donatello from the Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
And Ezekiel, if you're not familiar with the comics, is like very, very zen, wise, and he has a freaking tiger.
Yep.
I think if anything can claw through a horde and come out unscathed, a tiger can do this.
Yeah, definitely. It might get a little overrun, so it might need a little bit of sniper help from Ezekiel.
But if Ezekiel's there with the tiger, no.
Yeah. I think Glenn has definitely a more than good chance, especially if he has a tiger on his side.
And we're not going to find out this week.
Nope.
That's my prediction. I think they're going to hang us out there and dangle that. And
because when's the mid-season finale?
Let's see. This was episode what? Three. So we should have 5 more episodes before the mid-season.
Okay, because I was going to say I could see this next 90-minute episode being more about Morgan and being a flashback, being more about Morgan.
And
that's totally what I'm figuring.
But I could see Ezekiel being introduced at the end of the episode, and then the second episode after that's going to be introduced.
I'm going to argue with you.
Go with more.
I think they're going to introduce Ezekiel about midway through.
But
they're not going to name him. You may not even see the tiger.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I could see the changed man that trained Morgan. I could see them bringing him in, doing Morgan's backstory, and then maybe by the end of the episode, so what do I call you, Ezekiel? And then, boom, next episode, Ezekiel rides to the rescue on the tiger, which I cannot for the life of me remember the tiger's name.
No, neither can I. It was... I can look it up here real quick.
Thank goodness for the internet.
Yeah, if the internet works.
But yeah, I could totally see them taking the plot device of everybody wants to know what happened to Morgan and using that in this episode, which I think is going to fuel speculation that Glenn is actually still alive, aside from everything that has been discussed. No in memoriam on Talking Dead.
Yep.
He wasn't on the couch. And I mean, they always, when somebody dies, especially someone significant, they always bring them on the couch, and they're like, okay, see, this is Lady Lavender. She's still alive. She did not die in real life. This is her. She's still here.
Yep.
Still here.
And so that really kind of, it's a huge diversion. The other thing that I've heard mentioned is no main character has died alone.
Yeah.
No main character has died without a witness.
Yeah.
Are you talking about that? That's what you're talking about. That's like nobody dies alone.
Nobody dies alone. Andrea died with Michonne. Lori was what?
With Carl
and Maggie.
Yeah.
Herschel. God, everybody saw that one.
Yep.
So, I mean, you look, even Shane, Rick was there.
T-Dog,
Tyrese. Yeah, I mean, you look at all of these main characters and these huge deaths that they've had, and there's been someone from the group to witness each and every one.
Yep.
Nobody was there for Glenn's.
Yep.
Glenn's not dead yet.
No, he's not.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but I still don't want to get my hopes up. And now...
I don't want to jinx it, but...
Yeah. And one other thing, too, that I was kind of hearing about Glenn's death is a lot of people were actually kind of annoyed with how, if he did die, how that happened.
Oh, yeah, because that's a totally stupid death for somebody who
It
has
is.
survived
But
so
see,
much.
See, I'm going to argue that because I feel that makes it more realistic because it shows that in this world, anything could happen to a huge badass at any time. And it makes it more realistic. For me, I feel that, yes, Glenn deserves a better death. Glenn deserves the death that I want to happen.
I hate myself for agreeing with you. I still think it's stupid. I still think they shouldn't have done it, but I can see where you're coming from as far as
Yeah, because theoretically,
no one's safe.
Yeah, because theoretically, Daryl could be driving his motorcycle, and then a walker steps out, he crashes into the walker, and then he just flips his motorcycle, and that's Daryl. He's dead. That could theoretically happen. It's not going to. I hope
Dang
it
it,
doesn't.
Jazz Hands, you just ruined the mid-season finale.
Probably. Probably.
Well, and the other reason I've heard a lot of people talk about why Glenn isn't dead, because Glenn can't be dead because he has an appointment.
Oh. Yeah, well, he has an appointment in 2.
And
one
we
other
went,
thing.
we went the entire show last week without mentioning this person, so I'm going to let you say who he has the appointment with.
Who? Oh, no, I was...
This is your chance to shine.
I got a text that said Sophia was the only one to actually die alone.
Ooh, you are correct.
Yeah.
So, Sophia was the only one. But now, what were you saying, Paul? I'm sorry.
Well, just that Glenn can't be dead because he has an appointment to keep. His death is already preordained. He already has an appointment with who?
Negan.
Yes!
Negan? Okay. But
we did
here's-
not mention that name all last episode.
I'm proud of that, for one. Okay? I've been good recently.
You have.
But no, I mean, here's the whole thing, though. That I feel that with Negan's death, especially if he does survive this,
Glenn's.
Glenn's death, yes. yes.
We got him back on Negan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I also read last night and stuff, but so it seems that if Glenn does survive this, but then dies with Negan, I think that might piss a lot of the fans off a little bit more because it's like, okay, so you can get out of this extreme horde with just body and somehow if he gets out of it, you can get out of that, but you can't get out of a guy holding you down with like pointing a gun to your friend's head and gonna hit you with a bat. I can feel, granted, there's different ways because it's like, well, if I don't die, my friends will. So there's different ways you could twist it, but I could see a lot of people also kind of getting frustrated with that because it's like, you survived this, but you didn't survive that.
But Glenn is already at that. You've survived all of this. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm looking over here at Lady Lavender. You know how many times everybody's going, oh my God, Glenn's going to be dead. Glenn's going to be dead. And then all of a sudden Glenn just pops up. He's like, no.
Nope, I'm still here.
Yep.
And so, I mean, Glenn is, he's, gosh, I almost don't want to say this, but Glenn is the ultimate survivor.
Yeah.
Carol, first off, I have started making Chuck Norris jokes.
Good.
Like, Chuck Norris is totally afraid of Carol.
Yeah.
Chuck Norris has nightmares about Carol.
As he should be.
Because I think Chuck Norris, I think Carol could take Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's just me. That's not fact. That is opinion.
Yeah.
But I still think
It's fact
I think
now.
Carol could take Chuck Norris.
It's fact now. I mean, after the Wolves episode,
I think she'd lull him into a false sense of security with a casserole and then beat him upside the head with the pan until he was dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most people say, "Oh, Carol is the ultimate survivor." Carol's good, but Glenn will survive.
Yeah.
And the only thing that Glenn can't survive is humans. Glenn knows walkers. Humans are way more unpredictable. Walkers, you know what they're going to do. That's why I have the theory about the flare gun. That's going to at least draw some off. I think Glenn knows walkers and their behavior well enough. He'll survive this. Negan's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for.
I mean, even the wolves proved that a small group of humans is more dangerous than a large group of walkers.
Yeah.
Because look at the chaos they caused in Alexandria, and there were, maybe 20?
Something like that.
20,
yeah.
25 wolves?
Yeah.
Look at the chaos they caused. They didn't have firearms. They didn't have. Well, they had one battering ram, but the driver got shot.
Yeah.
So
He turned quickly, though. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did, and I've noticed that turn times have been kind of changing.
Yeah.
Things have been, some are turning quicker, but some are turning slower. David, in the last episode,
took a while.
He was able to walk miles, go through the town, and he never really turned. He just got tore apart.
Yeah, and I want to get into that. Like we're gonna wrap up Glenn's kind of conversation here shortly, because this has been strictly all that. Because I want to definitely talk about Michonne and Heath's scene and their whole kind of character development within that episode.
That
because
was awesome.
Oh yeah,
that was
was
a
good.
big moment. And I also want to talk about this part at the end with Rick. So we have two more big things to talk about. So final thoughts, guys, on Glenn. I think we all think that he's alive.
Glenn's not dead yet.
We think
Not dead.
Yeah, we think he's definitely going to get out of it somehow, hopefully with the help from a tiger. That's what I'm hoping.
Sorry, Gimple and Nicotero, we're not buying it.
Yeah, not buying it, but
Playing with emotions is not right.
Yeah.
yeah.
We're catching on to your wily ways, guys.
Yeah. But I mean, if this is somehow the end and he is dead, I don't think so. But if this is the end and he's dead, the world loves you, you dumbass.
Yep.
Just gonna say that.
That's gonna be it.
Yeah, that's it. So now, because we've got a little bit of time left, we've actually gone through the break just talking about Glenn. And we're still going. We're still going, and I have so much kind of more to talk about. So we might just have an actual 1 hour.
Full hour? Wow.
Full
cool.
hour of just with no break. So okay. So the scene between Heath and Michonne. Now Heath, I think, definitely kind of Heath's character from right now, from what I've seen, I don't think he trusts Rick as much as the others do.
Oh, no, what after he heard what Rick said to him, if they didn't say leave him behind.
I think that just added fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
And
apparently he's never had to leave anybody behind.
And I'm wondering if that maybe ticked Heath off because he knew about Aiden and Nick and what they did on their runs. Because to me, it seemed like Heath's group didn't leave someone behind.
Yeah.
As shown by, Annie twisted her ankle. Heath's carrying her. The one guy, and I can't think of his name, that got shot in the leg.
Heath was carrying the guy that got shot. Glenn was carrying Annie.
Okay, but still, someone was carrying the members that were injured. Come on, let's go. Let's get you out of here. Let's go. We're not leaving you behind.
Yeah.
And that really spoke to me as far as the difference between Heath and the other runner group.
Yeah.
And if you'll notice, Nicholas even told Heath, I've been with them. They know what they're doing. He knows what he's doing about Glenn.
Yeah. And Nick definitely, I hate to kind of backtrack and talk about Nick, but there's one thing that I did forget is Serge. That's the only name I can remember, the bucket hat guy.
Sturgis.
When Sturgis left, and then when that group he left us, so who cares? And Nick was in the shot. I think Nick definitely did feel bad for being who he was. But anyway, yeah. So Heath never had to leave anybody behind, and we don't have to. But that, I think they've been in tough situations, but not like
this.
Not like this.
Yeah,
no,
not like this. And I think it definitely, when Michonne, drops the mic.
Yeah.
That was like a beautiful, for me, I was like, yes, because you could understand, and this is what I like, you could understand where both the characters were coming from, at least for me. I could understand why Heath is just like, especially because he doesn't leave people behind. And then to hear Rick, if something goes bad, leave him behind.
Yeah. I don't, I'm going to have to watch it again. I only got to watch it twice. And those were both Sunday night. I'm going to have to watch it again, but if I'm remembering right, Rick said they're not all going to make it.
No, he said that. He said those right words.
And that's what hacked Heath off. Yeah, I heard what he said.
Yeah.
They're not all going to make it.
And he said he tried. He's tried, but they're not going to make it.
Yeah.
They'll leave him behind.
Yeah, and I think definitely for Heath to be put into that mindset well, they're not going to make it, so we just need to continue the mission. I think that definitely ticked Heath off more, and made him just more kind of like not aware, but it made him like, well, why should I trust you people?
He was very wary of Michonne, Glenn, and the people from Rick's group.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. He's shown that. Yeah, he's shown that, yeah.
But I loved Michonne's comment to Heath.
Oh, yes.
And then the reveal as they were going through the stream.
Oh, yeah, stream, like, reflecting on myself.
Yeah.
Seeing
Well, even before that, because with Heath, when they climbed the fence, and that one, David, I believe?
Yeah, David.
Who was bit. He was, like, laying there getting eaten, and Nick was just kind of, or Heath was just kind of watching him, and then was just like, we gotta go. Let's get out of here. We gotta go. That was that moment, and where at the end of the day, when he did have that reflection, it was very much, I've been through this, but this is just one day. These people have been doing it
For
a
how
while,
long?
Yeah.
for a while now. So, he gets it, and I think he's definitely. I think he's going to trust. I don't think he's going to trust Rick right off the bat. I think he's not going to question Rick as much, but I think he's definitely going to trust Michonne
And Glenn.
And Glenn.
because Michonne.
Sorry, I have to throw that in there.
No, he's going to trust Glenn, but because Michonne had a lot of big character development within this episode
She
too.
did.
Yes.
And I would almost say that Michonne is becoming a more of a leader in and of itself than just with her group.
Oh, yeah.
And almost becoming a bigger beacon of hope than when we first
Yeah,
left her.
especially the talk when he talked to Heath and saying about, you never seen the dip when you're covering blood between your friends or the walker. You
Well,
never
not-
been that situation.
Not just Heath, and I think Michonne has a really good way of balancing out what Rick, I think, is having a problem balancing out, the beast mode and then the calm mode. Because with the beast mode, she went off on Heath. She told Heath off, and when you don't understand, you don't get it. But on the flip side, she wrote on her arm to David, "You're going to get home."
Well, and the other thing is, I think Michonne is being developed more as a liaison between Rick, because she understands Rick. She knows, even though Rick says something along the lines of, they're not all going to make it, she knows Rick means there's nothing we can do. There are some people who are just so careless, they're not going to pay attention, and they are going to not survive.
Yeah.
But other people here, it is, what if they don't make it? Screw them. Let them die. She understands and can translate that for the Alexandrians from what Rick says to, okay, look, I know he said you're not all going to make it, and he's right, but it's not because we're not trying. It's just the way things are going to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's the
Yeah.
leadership position you're seeing Michonne come into, is she's going to be a bridge between Rick, because let's face it, Rick is in charge of Alexandria.
Yeah, he runs that joint.
He owns it. He runs it. They're not going to take this town from me.
Yeah.
So there's going to need to be a buffer between, sort of like the Key and Peele bit about Obama's anger translator.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they need to have somebody to translate from, okay, this is what Rick said, now this is what he actually meant in this context. That's what Michonne is going to be.
Yeah.
What do you
I
think?
agree.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, pretty much.
Wow.
You nailed it. You nailed
Completely
it.
agree.
Was that good? Wow.
Nailed it on the head. Would do. Now, also kind of speaking of Rick, because we're slowly running out of time. Speaking of Rick, there was a moment where, of course, the wolf attack at the end.
Yeah.
Which that was a badass moment. I mean, it's clear that those wolves aren't going to be messing with people anymore. Rick cleaned it up.
Yeah, but Rick shouldn't have had to clean it up. Morgan should have killed him.
Yeah, see, but this is what I was saying. This is what I was
should've
saying.
killed him.
This is what I was saying earlier. Like, you shouldn't have, and you shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a punishment to allow somebody to live in this world. Granted, it is.
But it is.
It is, and I definitely because I've read a little bit of the comic books, and I think this comes back in the comic books a lot more.
Yes.
Where it's easier to kill somebody off. it's
Yes.
harder to make them live. Now, if I was in this world and I went to a camp and I went to go kill somebody for food or something like that, and they stopped me and they let me go, I'm not going to mess with those people again. Because, okay, I'm outnumbered, I'm out this, unless they're a serious bad group that I have to take down, I'm not going to mess with them. So, by allowing somebody to live, if they come back to mess with you, that's on them. And then if they died, that's still on them. But you gave them a chance. You did the right thing.
But the wolves in the Winnebago didn't know Rick was one of the Alexandrians.
Yeah.
I mean, Rick was not there. They had no idea. They just found another poor sucker. Hey, we can take his stuff. Boom.
They didn't realize who they were messing with, though.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
no!
No, you don't mess with
Rick shot him down.
beast
Rick shot him
mode.
down.
You don't mess with beast mode Rick. You don't mess with
Smoke Rick.
beast mode Rick.
So is Beast Mode Rick going to make it out?
No, I think he's gonna make it out. But the only thing is, what you told me, he might have to cut off his hand because he lost a lot of blood when he got cut.
I don't think they're going to do that.
I think they're going to. I think they're going to have to.
And one thing that I've kind of noticed is I don't think they're going to do that, and I don't think they're going to actually, because I want it to happen, but I don't think they're going to have Carl lose an eye, just because for both of them, you got to think about it not as story-wise, but as money-wise. Acting-wise, like, for him to lose a hand, like, that's hundreds upon hundreds of dollars of green screen that they have to mess with.
Oh, come on, man! They did that for Merle for how long? And they can
No, they gave him little Merle.
They can always do the Merle. Give Rick like a big sword mounted on his left stump,
And that would be cool. Fine. But remember, how many times did you actually see Merle without little Merle? Only a couple
there
times.
There were a couple of times. Carl would be easy, though, man. Give the kid an eye patch and he's done. They already did it with the governor.
But you still gotta work with the shot wound and everything. Like, I could see both sides. I want stuff to happen. I don't want Rick to lose a hand just because I think choreograph-wise and show-wise it would be a lot more difficult.
Well, not to mention everybody who's bought the Rick figurines now needs to get the updated Rick figurines with the missing hand.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, I feel because Rick, I think, in that moment where... Because he's definitely going to get out of it. I don't have a problem with him getting out of it. Maybe Glenn comes and saves him. Who knows?
No, I don't think Glenn's going to come and save Rick.
No.
But
Yeah, I think they're too far apart.
They're too far apart. Way too
I
far
think
apart.
Daryl may.
No, Daryl may.
no, Daryl went
may
back. Daryl went back.
Daryl went back, but I think Daryl may
go back to get.
If Rick gets on it, Daryl, I'm in trouble. I'm at the rendezvous point I gave Glenn. Okay, boom, Daryl's on his way.
But saying this is the whole thing though too, because Rick talked about the quote unquote greater good in doing and
continue the mission
for them, and that they have to hold out and handle it themselves because yes, they could be getting attacked now, but if we go back, that's for us. Right. And I think he definitely has a problem with that at the end because for one, I feel with the radio silence, just complete radio silence from Glenn and Michonne's thing, and then to find the baby food in the pocket, I think I think for Rick at that moment, because Rick's always a super strong leader, but I think at that moment he really starts to break because he's like, did I really just get everybody killed?
Papa Bear.
Yeah.
They killed Judith. Oh my! I think that's what's gonna. I think Rick's gonna draw on his superhuman. You mess with my kids.
Yeah.
Power, and he's gonna tear him up.
Yeah. And I could see that, but I also feel it's like what the one I always forget her name. She was on Talking Dead.
Yvette Nicole Brown.
Brown. I love her.
The Notebook lady. If you are listening, Yvette, please 513-4472. Call us day or night. Between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Central Time. We will have you on.
I would love to have you on, and we could just talk.
We'll have you on by
right?
phone.
Right.
Yeah, does not matter.
That'd be a straight up 3-hour thing.
We may be looking for extra time. It's like, okay, we've got 6 hours we can spend with Yvette Nicole Brown. We'll do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
She rocks.
Yeah, I absolutely love her. But, I think she was right. Rick definitely, for the first time, had a very defeated look.
Yes.
Not determined, not mad. He looked very defeated and scared. And I think that's definitely going to come back to, not bite him in the butt, but I think we're going to see the full fallout of that in and of itself. So, I mean, any kind of final thoughts on the episode? Because we're on like the last minute. So, any final thoughts on the episode? What do you guys think, and what do you think might happen? Besides, because I think we talked about it enough. But what do you guys think is going to happen next episode?
Glenn is going to get out.
I don't think. Hey, what do you guys think about the last episode when the group mostly some of the group made it back to home, like make it back to the community? What do you think is going to happen to that before they get the ending out?
They didn't make it back though, did they?
No, they didn't make it back.
They're on the
still
road,
on their
but they're still a while out.
Yeah, they're still a ways out.
Okay.
Personally, I think this episode it's really strange watching this show because each episode is just getting better and better and better and better and building more tension and more tension. I think this next episode, even though it's an hour and a half long, I think it's actually going to ratchet back. I think they're going to have to do a lot of backstory and a lot of character development where we see Crazy Morgan become Zen Morgan. I don't live in the past. I live in the present. I don't look for the future. And I do think we're going to meet Ezekiel. And I think they're going to dangle us out on what happened to Glenn. I don't even think we're going to get a little flash at the end.
No, they're going to leave that lead.
No, I could see that being revealed at mid-season at most.
Oh God, no. They'll have to do that the episode after. But if they do it, it's going to be one of those post-credit scenes like they did with Morgan.
Oh, what they did
I've been looking for those. I've been wanting those.
Where all of a sudden they're running the credits and then they stop and it shows Glenn firing a flare gun and the zombies walk off.
Yeah.
And then it's just... All right, so welcome to the, AMC's is Chris Hardwick, blah, blah, blah. And
most,
it's like,
most I could see is something like that, but instead you see kind of the pile, you see the flare gun kind of go off, and then you see it kind of in the air, and then you just see like the back of him kind of turn around and look, Ezekiel, and that's when it's going to end. But that's pretty much all the time.
That would be a rocket end.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that would.
That would be good ending. That would
Awesome.
be good.
Ezekiel
Season 6.
illuminated by flare.
Season 6 is season 6 is wrapping. I'm loving it. But thank you guys everybody for tuning in. You can check us out on facebook.com/STL.air. I should have this up later tonight, and we will be you can hear everything that we said again. And I mean, put your own opinion with the videos. Comment. Talk about what you think is going to happen. But thanks, everybody, so much for tuning in. I had a blast. Thank you guys for tuning in. And
Love it.
Love it, man.
hopefully I'll see you guys next week, and I'll see you guys.
Yep, definitely.
We'll definitely be back next week. So thanks, everybody. Later.